It is Wednesday, Hump Day, January 5th. We're ready. We're fired up. We got all kinds of news to talk about today. Buckle up because we're going to go across the whole landscape from cars to culture. Let's go.
Everywhere I go, the people really want to know who I is and who I be. They stop and stare when they see me. If it's it once, no need to repeat. Run up on
Get
me,
that midweek
watch
bounce,
me,
Kyle.
tip-
Yes. Wednesday bounce is the best bounce every time.
Is it? Why?
I don't know. Maybe Friday's good. They're all good. I almost missed the bounce this morning.
You did?
Not a joke, because I went and I got really excited and pulled back and lost my headphones. I was like, no, don't miss the bounce.
Nate's bouncing. Good morning, Nate. Good morning. He's bouncing. All right, we have so much to cover today, and we got a little excited with the live stream, so we've been going over 15 minutes, and we're going to stop that because you have things to do, and we have things to do, and if we can't say it in 15 minutes, then it's just too much for our morning show. So let's get right into it. First thing, let's talk about what's kind of on every blotter this morning, and that is Toyota.
Toyota. They said, GM, step aside. They came in hot last year, and the reality is that they sold 0.1 million more, so 100,000 more units, new units last year in 2021, topping GM, meaning it ends GM's 10-year run for top on U.S. auto sales. That's a really big deal. So the most of what is pointing to it is saying, hey, it's because they managed the chip supply better, meaning they had kind of like that reserve holdback, able to push in, have inventory on ground to meet more of the demand than GM could. So we'll see if that balances out this year, whether or not they're able to continue to press into the market because of chip supply or because of inventory availability, and whether or not it was fully leaned on that or whether there's an actual overtaking of consumer demand for foreign vehicles. So really interesting.
What do you think? What do you think the mood is at the GM building this morning?
Yeah, that's one where it's like, oh, guys,
I know what it is at the Toyota HQ.
Oh, look, it's like popping bottles everywhere for sure. They're like, ride the wave. Let's go.
I guess I didn't think about it this far, but we should have seen this coming. I guess I didn't realize the gap was closed that much.
Right.
I mean, now in hindsight, right, looking back, it's like, oh, well, yeah, all the Toyota dealers that we know are like, Toyota's doing a great job, right?
Yes.
Obviously, like Epic understanding, like developed TPS, right? Developed that whole Six Sigma way of manufacturing vehicles.
Yes.
So like they've always been so dialed in on that. So, and GM like had massive problems this year. Everybody had massive problems, but we should have seen this coming maybe.
Well, and so Brian Kramer, who's a Toyota dealer, posted this on LinkedIn yesterday. And then also, I think my favorite comment was our good friend Ben Hadley that said it was something like slowly and then all of the sudden, right? Mm-hmm. It's like this was not for Toyota. This was not a like, oh, we figured it out this year. Yep. They've been doing the development for a long time, and then it all of a sudden created the opportunity for them to meet the demand where they needed to in last year.
Yeah,
right?
It didn't just happen.
Yeah,
right. It didn't just happen. Just like any overnight success.
Exactly. Which
doesn't happen.
Thinking back to our conversation yesterday, for a lot of people, it's like the idea of starting now to be able to shift and manage, consumer experience or profitability or business planning in a way that says it has foresight for 5 years, but also doesn't have the inability to be flexible today, right? Constantly gives you the ability to meet whatever's happening in the situation, which is what Toyota experienced last year, in my estimation, right? I don't know the P's and Q's, the ins and outs, but we all know what happened in the industry, and we know that that's probably the reality. They were more well suited last year because of the prep work that they did over the last 10 years to meet it where it needed to be met.
It's how it is, man. It's how it is in sports, right? How hard you training when it's not game day. It's how it is in battle, right? The more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in battle. It goes across entrepreneurship, business, life in general. Speaking of domestic OEMs.
Stop.
Segue.
Time.
Okay. So Ford had like a pretty awesome day yesterday in the stock market. Like
it crazy
really
awesome
high,
day,
like almost 12%.
Yeah, you hear some like you'll hear 4%, 5% days out there, but
Are
to go
good,
almost
and they're like, oh,
12%,
right,
yeah,
4 or 5 is notable,
yeah,
12 is big time. And why?
yeah. Well, and so it was on a lot of the reports of not just the production, but the actual consumer demand. So this is what I love about this. We've been talking a lot about these EV brands and how it's the voting machine for
Yeah.
the future, meaning people are voting on the expectation of profits based on what consumer demand may
Right,
be.
and that's driving the price of
This
stock.
is actually a price driven by real sales results on the F-150 Lightning. So
200,000 plus reservations.
yes, exactly.
And so
And
the
so
question became fulfillment. But
and
yes,
they nailed it, right? And they're going to continue to nail it, and they're pushing, and then they're pressing in. I thought part of one of the articles I read on it was last year Ford had 126% growth in their stock, which is like up there with a lot of the top,
the voting machines.
top voting machines as
Yeah.
far as percentage of growth, right?
Yeah.
They
Yep.
may not have the total market cap,
Yep.
right, of a Tesla or something like that, but as a percentage of growth, really impressive to kind of see a brand that you kind of think of as like the muscle car, maybe the family starter on the Ford Fiesta and some of those lower ends, but to be getting into the EV game and actually making a stamp, not just like projecting for 2030, but going, hey, we did it in 2021 and we're going to continue to do it in 2022. And for the weighing machine yesterday to say, yep, we agree at
Yeah.
11.6%, that's a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, 17% year to date, which is only 2 sessions. So let's be honest. Let's see what
Right.
happens. It'll be interesting to see what happens today.
No, but that's
Right? Like, is
that's
there going to be a little
great.
sell off, or I mean, but the response to it, you think about it too, like they went with the pickup truck. They went
Right.
with the best selling vehicle. They went and they said, oh, you know what? We're going to make this awesome. And we'll see what happens. Like, I mean, Rivian's got theirs. The Cybertruck we're going to see them this year, I think.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, wonder what the sentiment is, because buying an electric vehicle from Ford that still looks like an F-150, there's an element of trust there and familiarity
Yes.
that's like less of a dip, or less of a
Yep.
plunge, because when you look at the Cybertruck, I mean, you kind of know what you're getting from the Tesla interface by looking at the other vehicles, but
Mhm.
you're like, dude, that thing is just that's like from another world. Right?
Yes. Well, and what I think is really interesting is they led with their top seller, right? Which is the F-150. So there's one. Two is to lead with that, and then also that what that does to start to balance their EPA regulations, right? Where the government is saying by 2030 you have to meet a total average EPA,
Yep.
or standards on emissions, and to all of a sudden take your highest seller, which is your close to lowest from an emission standards, and then raise that for a miles per gallon, raise the overall average miles per gallon as a brand. It's a really aggressive play, instead of saying, hey, we're going to take all these sedans, right, which already
Right.
have our highest miles per gallon rating.
Right, and take them out of the equation. That's a
Right.
good point. Dude, I don't know the answer to this, but like, how do they measure EVs? Like, does it just count as a zero, or is there some
Zero
kind of
emission
equivalent?
Yeah, if it's a full EV, it's a zero emission vehicle. Yeah, I know. I see where you're going.
Overall impact. Like when Steve Greenfield last week was talking about like the rate at which EVs are going to burn through tires, I'm like,
right.
are we factoring that in? Because last time I checked, they're just mountains of tires places. Like,
Yes.
I don't know that we figured out what to do with them yet. We'll get off track really quick on that one. All right, let's go. Ford, we hit Toyota. Let's go like left field real quick.
Sideways. Here we go.
So sideways. Well, that's Britney Spears, right? This is where we're looking. Trey Parker, South Park. So if you grew up in the 90s like I did, you remember when South Park first came out. Founders Matt Stone and Trey Parker. Here's an article in Bloomberg Newsweek that says they just signed a $900 million deal with Viacom CBS that to create 6 more seasons of the show and 14 spin-off movies for the Paramount Plus streaming service, essentially creating a cinematic universe around the show. Parker and Stone are also working on a documentary series, starting a weed company, and producing a 3D video game set in the world of South Park. They've been building, wait, just lean in for a second. They've been building a team of deep fake artists who specialize in inserting simulations of real people into existing live action video footage, and they're developing a movie using the technology. Can you say the world is turning upside down?
I mean, I think that they covered like 7 things that are like
the last one is the most disturbing.
I know.
Like, first of all, I don't know that we need 6 more seasons of South Park in the world.
We didn't need the last 10, probably.
Some funny. I don't even know how they're going to do without getting in trouble these days.
Right.
Like, I don't even know how they have not been canceled. Like, you watch like an episode, season 1 or 2 of South Park, and you're like, oh my gosh,
they said that.
And so, but we've now have these two entrusted with the ability to insert deep fake real life people into scenarios.
Wow.
Like this is why I love this morning thing, because we're trying to just get you thinking around culture, right?
Yes.
Not just stock prices. Like, come on, call the service advisor, share the episode, right? Get the porters in.
Yeah, and here's the thing: like these are people walking in our showrooms and our service drive are seeing and hearing this news, going, "So I might be like, they might deep fake me into a video game one day," and you're like, sign here, press hard, 3 copies, right?
Right. Oh, the dot matrix has to catch up.
Right.
So we wanted to drop that in there because it was left field, and because it's like we're trying to give you a little taste of, like, we try to scour and give a broad range. All right, we have 2 left to talk about that we wanted to talk about. Should we go NFTs or should we go WeWork? Let's bring it back for a second. Let's talk about WeWork.
Let's go a little bit more WeWork, because NFTs a little outside. So so the founder and owner of WeWork has gone out and purchased how many? You have the article in front of you. How many?
It happens to be in the Wall Street Journal.
Because you're a savvy business.
I'm a savvy business person. I read the Wall Street Journal. So he bought Adam Newman bought majority stakes in more than 4,000 apartments valued at more than $1 billion in the cities of Miami, Atlanta, Nashville, Fort Lauderdale, and several other cities. So Nashville, Kyle, you know the place he bought.
I know the place. I drive past it all the time.
What's it called?
It's in East Nashville. It's called Stacks on Main. It's a residential, like fairly new. I would say in the last 4 years it's been built. So it's fairly new. It's pretty high class. It kind of has like a building that wraps a common area in the center with a pool. So it's it overlooks the city. You can kind of see into East Nashville, into downtown Nashville. So it is a prime real estate situation, which is interesting because right up the road, there's actually a WeWork building, less than a mile. So
which he is no longer the CEO of, right? That kind of soured.
Yeah.
Mr. Newman is invested in a number startup. Yeah, they're just focusing on the young, vibrant cities and this new kind of work life. You know, he started in like, hey, this is how we're going to build a place to go to work. And now it seems that he's focused on the radius of places where people want to work, right? And obviously states that a lot of people are moving to because of, social freedoms and just perspective on business and taxes and all these things. And he's in on the game. So again, here you have somebody who had a plan. It didn't work because things changed, pivoted. And it's not like you just can't. Successful people, they're just gone by the time you get back to them because they've already moved on to the next thing. That's what successful people do, right? Yep. That's why we're talking to you. Right? This is what successful people do. They're going to make some trouble somewhere else.
I love that he went to real estate, right? And especially residential real estate where people are going.
He was already kind of in real estate, right?
Right. Yeah, he was already in, but to go to residential real estate, right?
Big change.
I think a big deal, especially post-pandemic or whatever it is current.
Is it a pit? I don't know.
Yeah. So you've got that's just a whole idea, like thinking about where am I investing time? Where am I investing resources? That real estate is still and will continue to be a big deal. And for someone to go from, where people are going to where people are staying, I think is an important indicator for what economies are going to do and all of that. So,
well, we've reached a milestone. We have 30 seconds left. Hey, what's up? What's up, Don? What's up, Mark? I remember when South Park first came out too. Hey, look, looks like we got a comment from our first spammer. That's great.
Look at that. Always love that.
I can't read it, but now we know we've made it. So thank you very much for that. Maybe we should check out the website they suggest just just for fun. We're not going to do that.
I wouldn't do that. No.
No. We did say we're going to talk about NFTs in the final seconds. There's a really popular NFT called Bored Ape Yacht Club. Eminem recently just bought one for $400+ million worth of ETH. Kind of looks like him. It's got the hat on. And somebody got hacked and somebody fell prey to a phishing scam, lost $2.8 million of Bored Ape NFTs. And OpenSea, which is like the eBay for NFTs, said, don't worry, we're going to freeze those assets. And they were like, awesome. That's great. They won't let those cards or those NFTs sell anymore on OpenSea, which is a really weird place to be because remember, crypto is about you can't freeze things, right? That's
Can't
kind of
freeze things, and there's no regulations from a federal standpoint on that. So dicey area. We'll see what happens.
How do you even know he's the one that got hacked? Like, how do you know where those went?
Right.
It gets look anywhere you go, there are people pulling the same stuff everywhere you go. Yeah. What a sad thing though, if he really lost those NFTs. Like, look, people always haters gonna hate. Haters gonna hate. Yep. But we're out of time today. We didn't hit 15 minutes, 16. We'll get it to 15 tomorrow. Thanks for being a part of this. You can go check out the podcast, look at all the past episodes. We have 71 of them. But until then, keep making trouble, and we'll be bouncing here with you tomorrow.
Leave the right.